Well, good evening guys, and welcome to today's post-build review of Border Models BT-004 Panzer IV F2 or G, depending on what you want to build. I have just now, like 5 minutes ago, completed the build, and I wanted to show you guys what this looks like once the build is actually completed, and wanted to talk about a couple of things that I noticed while building this. Let's start with the overall look of this. It definitely turns out to be a pretty accurate Panzer IV F2, especially if you leave off the headlights, which I have done on this. The only thing it does have is the no-tag headlight, and the headlight mounts that you would use for the G you can leave off, but then you have to fill some holes with some putty. It comes with a couple of nice PE bits that I added to the top here, and then to the front glasses, where I did not attach the additional spare track links, as you can see right there in behind the jerry cans. There you can see empty spare track holders made out of photo etch. Since this was one of the early batch kits, this also comes with the turned aluminum barrel. It's a nice touch. The kit, however, comes with a one-piece barrel as well, so that's not too bad, I guess. The kit does add and give you some nice deep add-ons like jerry cans, a towing cable, some spare road wheels, and overall just offers you the right amount of plastic for what you pay for this kit. This is roughly a €40 kit. Once you get the kit to the stage that it is right now, it does actually look like a very usable Panzer IV kit. However, while building this, I came across a couple of rather annoying and rather big issues, which I will quickly talk about. The first thing to mention, and let me zoom in for this, is the turret is built up of multiple pieces. So it's not like one solid turret, but you have to glue down this panel right here into like a tub that includes this panel and the back panel. The problem is the fit is wonky, which creates a seam on this side, and on the other it's even more prominent. So when I move over here, you can actually see that there's a gap here, which should not be there. No matter how much I tried to maneuver this, you would not be able to get rid of this gap. I will have to fill this with putty and then have to sand this. So this is a big disadvantage that this kit has. The thing that I did not understand, I built their early G, and the fit was a lot better with regards to these two panels, these two armor plates here. Now, there are a couple of reasons that I can think of that might lead to the fit issues on this one. Border Models is a rather young and new up-and-coming company. So I'm not entirely sure if they have managed to maintain and clean the molds with which these parts are molded, which could lead to some imperfections, which gets underlined and strengthened in argument by the fact that a lot of the parts within this kit had a very large amount of flash and seam lines compared to the G, which was their first Panzer IV release. So I was very disappointed with that. So there could be some quality control issues with regards to maintaining the molds. Another thing that really drove me insane are the tracks. Now, these are Lincoln length, and normally I am really not that big of a fan of Lincoln length tracks in 35th scale, unless the manufacturer provides you with a jig that allows you to kind of build up the tracks off of the model, have them sit for a while, have them cure, and then you can put them onto the model. They don't give you a jig, so you actually have to build them on the model. As soon as you glue down the return rollers, this is impossible. So if you ever come across these kits, do not glue on the return rollers, because there's one giant piece up top that you cannot slide onto the return rollers from the side. So once you have the tracks complete, you have to mount them from the back. With these fenders here and the mud flaps, it's almost impossible without damaging either the tracks, having them fall apart, or taking off these mud flaps in the back. Same goes for the front. As soon as they are on, you will not be able to slide them on without damaging it. The roll wheels are of course not glued in place. Neither is the sprocket or the idler. So what I did was I removed sprocket and idler from the tank. I removed the wheels, and I cut the guide horns from the tracklings that are basically sitting on top of the return rollers, just so I can slide them in. Well, on the other side, and I'm not gonna show you how messed up this looks, it's not perfectly aligned. This way I have gaps in the guide horns that are visible. So I will have to upgrade the tracks to metal tracks. Here's the thing. When you buy this, and you buy this for 40 euros, you're glad that you get a cheaper Dragon kit, basically, because you think, well, the G had very nice quality in plastic, it has a metal barrel, and the tracks, the detail on tracks is very impressive. They look good. Problem is, if you have to upgrade the tracks because the instructions either mislead you, or just the manufacturing is so that you cannot slide them in, you have to upgrade the tracks if you want this to look at all good. So you will have to spend between 20 and 30 euros on aftermarket tracks, depending on which manufacturer you go with. I can see why people would not want to do this. I could see people going the Dragon route because it's cheaper. Or not cheaper, but more convenient. Although I have to say, the newer Dragon kits, they come with the DDS tracks, you have to replace them either, so so that's not like a big upgrade. Magic tracks, I take any day of the week over these. I love Magic tracks. I know they are a lot of work, and you have to glue them all together, but they're so much easier to work with than these. It took me about 2 hours to get either each run together, and I was cussing and cursing and really swearing around the house here because this really annoyed me. I also upgraded the antenna because the antenna that comes with the kit is really thick, out of scale. Replaced it with an aftermarket metal antenna from Aber, I think. The machine gun is nice. The muzzle is hollow. Overall, I have to say, I was not as impressed with this as I was with their G, their early G, the first kit they came out with, for the models BT-001. I have to say, I was really disappointed with some things here. And I pre-ordered their H that's coming out later this year with the figure, the crew figures. And I'm really anxious to see if they went back to the quality of the G or if you still get this. One more thing that I realized is when you look at the plastic color here, the parts that they manufactured for the F2 variant that were on 2 separate sprues have distinctly different color. Like the gray tone is different. And you can see this. I'm not sure if the plastic is different And if this will cause problems down the road with painting, no clue at this point. What I will, however, say, I thought that these had better surface detail, and I thought these came with rolled steel texture. They don't. So you have to apply some Mr. Surfacer or glue to create the surface structure. I did so with the exhaust already. Overall, I think in the review I gave this an 8 out of 10, if not more. Now, having built this, I would downgrade this to at least, yeah, at max a 5 or a 6 out of 10. It still builds up to a proper looking Panzer IV, but I don't think it's worth the hassle of building up the tracks or replacing them if you can just as well get something, for example, a right field Panzer IV or something like that. So I have to say I'm a bit disappointed. I was a big fan of the first bottom model tank, which made it a lot worse for me seeing that this was not up to par. So I hope that you guys now have a clearer picture of what this builds up to, and have a clearer picture of some of the pitfalls that come with this. And one last little thing I want to mention: the superstructure here does not align perfectly unless you apply a lot of pressure to basically bend it in shape. And as you can see here, there is a small gap between the top of the armor compartment here and the side armor plate. So, and back here, it's also, there's a small little gap here that I have to fill or cover. You can also see it from the back. So there are a couple of issues with this, and I'm really struggling to figure out whether or not I messed up, or if this is basically just them having some issues with the quality of their molds after the first mold run for the G. So that might just be the reason. Maybe I just got a bad kit, like a bad batch, possible. Because I've talked to people that said that the plastic quality and the flash was not an issue with them, but the seam lines on the parts that I had to take off were massive. There were a lot, and they were highly visible, and there was flash, which I didn't see in the G. So yes, I hope you guys now have a clearer picture of what this is like. I guess if you can get this cheap, and if you have the interest of being a bit masochist and hurting yourself with building these tracks, go ahead, knock yourself out. I will now be on the lookout for some fools to replace them, and I hope to see you guys around in the next video. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for supporting me. Thanks to my patrons, and I'll see you guys soon. May the force be with you. This is Hollywood Modeling. Bye, guys.